worth of the situation that we're in, or maybe the circumstance, or the other people, or even ourselves. How many of you feel like you're worth something? How many of you feel like you're worth something? Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah. What if we measured all the elements, all the molecules, all the carbons, and we put it up in a big old nasty bag, and we put it on a scale? Maybe it's worth $1. Who knows? Or what if we go in the black market, and we just, there's a kidney, and it's worth what? $1 million. But don't get excited, because the U.S. government wants to have their say, and when they have an accident that causes human life, they want to value and say, oh, this is worth really $10 million. But let's be honest. Some of us, maybe you don't feel like you're worth $10 million. And maybe you're sitting there going, well, Rob, you really don't know how much I'm worth. Well, at the end of the service where we take our tithes and offerings, you can just show me there. I'm just kidding. I'm not, though. I'm serious. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. So we don't feel that way, right? We just don't. I don't feel that way. I don't feel like $1 million. Sometimes we don't feel that way at all, because we look on social media and we're like, oh, I had a bad day. My daughter just threw spaghetti all over me and her, and then the car's messing up. But then I get on social media and we see what? Perfect people, perfect situations with all these likes. And how come I don't have all these likes? And then we turn on the TV and we see LeBron makes $35 million, and then we see Oprah's worth $2.5 billion, and we're like, hold on. I work a job. I make maybe $12, maybe $20 an hour. I don't get it. I don't feel worth anything. See, we often feel worse when we get caught up in this thing called sin. Sin stains us. It hurts us. It devalues us. Sin is shame. Repeat after me. Say, sin is shame. It makes us feel like that bruised banana at the store. When you go to the store, nobody wants the bruised banana. Raise your hand if you eat the bruised banana. Exactly, there's problems. Exactly. Nobody wants the bruised banana. You can have all of them. Nobody wants it. We want that nice looking banana. See, when we get all caught up in sin, it complicates things, right? And the first thing that happens is we feel like we're worthless. We feel so worthless. What do I do with these feelings, these emotions? How do I go day by day knowing when I mess up, and I'm going to mess up big time, then I'm going to have to deal with these consequences, and then on top of that, I've got all of these emotions that I got to deal with. So sin, it's complicated. And when we sin, what do? We ask for forgiveness. God, forgive me. And we're like, whew. We're like, oh, great. But then if you stop and you really think about it, forgiveness, true forgiveness, it's complicated. It's so complicated. Have you ever seen someone get in trouble for something that you did, but they got off? We had to drop our daughter off in Conway to the grandparents. Thank the Lord for grandparents. And so I'm doing the normal 95 to 100 to Conway, Arkansas. And I'm like, oh, this car's going faster than me. So logical, I'm a logical person, so they're going to go. All of us fall behind. I've seen Days of Thunder. I'm just going to draft. That's what I'm doing. I'm just drafting. And my wife's like, well, you stop it. And I'm like, no, baby, we're just drafting. But then if I get pulled over, who's going to get pulled over? The car in front of me? Yes. No, it's me. Or what if you're at work and you turn in a report? Or you're at school and you turn in a grade or a report or something. And then you know the person beside you, they're doing something not right, not honest. But they don't get in trouble, but you get in trouble. When I was in college, I was taking chemistry in my sophomore year. And all my friends were in a fraternity. And they were like, hey, Rob, guess what? No need to study. I'm like, sweet, because I wasn't going to. The cool thing about this is I knew God created me to be with people, not chemicals. So chemistry was just like, yeah, I didn't need to take it. I knew my purpose. And they're like, listen, we have all the tests. The same teacher uses the same test all the time. It's like clockwork. She's standard. We know this. I'm like, sweet. So they give me the test. So what do? I take those little pins that are like an octagon with a blue cap and screw it. I spend hours shaving down these little pieces of paper, sliding it on the inside of the pen. Oh, yeah. Like Mission Impossible. Screw it back on. Take the test. Remember, it's chemistry. There's 300 people in here. A lot of my friends are in here. And apparently I was focused on the pen more than the paper, and the teacher called me up there. My college professor called me up there. Mr. Dunn, can I see you? So I walk up there, quickly put the pen in the pocket. Let me see your paper. And apparently I'm not known for making all A's, and she knew this. And so when she started taking my test and looking at it, she goes, "You're cheating." And so I'm not going to lie to her. I'm like, "Absolutely, yes." And so I showed her. I was like, "Hey, here's what I did. This is it." And she took the pen. And she says, "If you would have just spent all this time studying instead of making this elaborate little ruse right here to pass this test, you'd have passed it." And I'm thinking, okay, this is it. This is when Rob gets expelled. This is when Rob doesn't get to go to college anymore. And she says, "See me after your day, and I want you to retake the test by yourself." Right there, she gave me grace, forgiveness in action. It was so complicated. I don't deserve it. I cheated. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. It was very clever, by the way, but it was still wrong. And she said that. Said out of all my years teaching, Rob, that was the most inventive way to cheat on a test. And she took the pen. I took the test. She gave it back to me. And I still have that pen to this day. It reminds me to always put in the effort. And I want to look at a prayer of forgiveness this morning. Normally, we use this pattern to follow when we've messed up. And that prayer, it's a good thing. But today I want to look at it behind the scenes. I want to look at David and Bathsheba. And maybe you know the story, but what I want to do is I want to look at it through a different lens, and I want to look at the story in reverse. And go ahead and turn to Psalms 51. We might have it right here on the screen. Psalms 51, here it is. "Have mercy on me, O God, because of your unfailing love, because of your great compassion, blot out the stains of my sin." Verse 2 is, go ahead and show it. "Wash me clean of my guilt, purify me of my sin. Wash me clean of my guilt," he says. "For I have received my rebellion, it haunts me day and night. Against you and you alone I have sinned. I have done evil in your sight." So right here, go back up to verse 1. First off, David calls out what to God? He says, "God, have mercy." He didn't whisper to him and say, "Hey, God, just have mercy on me. Forgive me." No, he says, "Have mercy on me. Oh, God, listen to me." His sin was real. His guilt was real. It's when it's deep down in his soul, he felt it. I want to look at some of the language that David uses to describe the real sin in his life. The first one is, right here it says, it's the stain of my life. The stain of my life. He's not talking about a grass stain right here. This is a stain that's going to be with him forever. It's not going to come out. It's kind of like when you get that new couch, and it's maybe like an off-white cream couch like the couch I have, and your wife gives you the one rule that you're supposed to have. Don't eat ice cream on the couch. And I'm thinking, my God, I'm going to eat the ice cream all I want on that couch. So what do? You tell me not to eat the ice cream. I'm going to eat the ice cream on the couch. So I get the bowl of ice cream. I sit on the couch. I'm sitting there eating the ice cream, chocolate ice cream. What happens? I'm not paying attention. Where does the ice cream go? On the couch. So I run, get the stain remover, and I erase the stain. But I know it's still there, right? I can't see it, but I know where the chocolate ice cream hit on the couch, right? And that's what sin does. It affects us. It stains our life. And how does David want God to deal with it? He says, wash, purify my life, wash my sins. He painted this picture of God pouring out bleach on the whole thing right here. He said, listen, I want you to wash it, purify me. We know a little bleach goes a long way, so what do? We're going to use the whole bucket of bleach. I'll never forget, I learned the power of bleach my freshman year of college when I had to clean all of my socks, my underwear, my pants, my shirts, my bedding, my towels, everything. And I thought, well, time is money in college, so I put it all in the washing machine. And I know I needed a cup of detergent. Shh, done. And I was like, well, you need a cup of bleach, right? I didn't know they meant the cap. So I put the bleach in there, put it in there. Needless to say, I was single that year. My parents gave me grace and bought me new clothes and new bedding because I looked awful. When you clean everything you own, your bedding, your towels, all that, it's the worst thing ever. And I was wondering why. I was like, man, this washing machine must be broke Can't handle just normal clothes. But that's what God's saying. And he says this, against you and you alone, Lord, I have sinned. Oh, well, hold on. He says this, against you and you alone, oh Lord, I have sinned. You mean just me, God? Or just God? It doesn't affect anybody else when you sin? See, your sins will often affect more than just you. See, we're self-centered when it comes to our sin. We're focused on ourselves, especially when it comes to our sin. But the reality is, our sin, it has ripples effect. It affects people that we're close to. And let's take a look at what David says here. And I want to see how he comes about this. Because this was a public sin. Everybody knew what David did because it's wrote down in 2 Samuel chapter 11. Everybody knew it. Long story short, this is how you sum up the entire chapter, is this. He cheated with another man's wife. And let's look at how it all started right here. 2 Samuel chapter 11, verse 1. In the spring of the year, when King David normally goes to war, David sent Joab and the Israelite army to fight the Ammonites. Stop right there. Right there. Where was David? Where was he? He was where he wasn't supposed to be. He was supposed to be where? At war. But what was he doing? He was at home. He was in the palace. 9 times out of 10, when we fall into temptation, it's where we're not supposed to be. It is. But then we know we're not supposed to be there, and we know if we go there, nothing good's going to happen, and this is what we do. We start justifying things. We're like, well, if I just swing by, maybe I just stay for 5 minutes, and I'm going to do this, and I won't do that. But we know nothing good's going to happen. Think about this. The places you're not supposed to be, they're the easiest to find. It kind of all clicks now. When my parents tell me, hey, you don't need to be over there. Nothing good happens after dark. Hey, you don't need to do this. The places that we're not supposed to be, they're the easiest to find. See, what David was doing right here, he's putting off his responsibilities. Instead, what he was doing, he's just sitting back, drinking some water, going, living the good life, just lazy. He's just so lazy and complicated, and he gets bored. What he's doing is he's not living with purpose. He's not living with God-given purpose. Look what happens in verse 2. Verse 2 says this, later one afternoon, after his midday rest, David got out of bed and was walking on the roof of his palace. Well, that must be nice to walk on the roof. As he looked out over the city, he noticed a woman of unusual beauty taking a bath. What was he doing? Taking a nap. Nothing of real great value. And my wife and I actually got in this kind of debate about this because I think when I'm taking a nap, it's of huge value because I'm tired and I lay down, but it doesn't add value to any situation other than myself. And he starts walking on the roof. He knew Bathsheba lived over there. He knows it. Think about the people that you live around. My neighborhood. I know the people who have all the tools that I don't have. I know the people that go grocery shopping every week. When I run out, I can go there. I know the people that work out because they're always running and they're fit and they don't look like me. I know these people. So David knew unusual beauty. He knows where the pretty people live. And then what does he do? He's taking his nap. I wonder maybe if he thought, it's about bath time. Or maybe when he was napping, he was dreaming about her. Or maybe, just maybe, he planned the whole thing out. But watch this back at verse 2. We see what David did. He noticed, the word noticed, he noticed her right here. He noticed her right there. He hasn't sinned yet. He just noticed. He just said, oh, he hasn't sinned. The idea just started forming. He let a little notice turn into something really big, something more, turning into desire. And that's what James chapter 1, 14, 15 says. James chapter 1, 14, 15 says this. Temptation comes from our own desire. Everybody say desire. Okay, half the room said it. Say desire. Desire, which entices us, it drags us away. These desires give birth to sinful action. And when sin is allowed to grow, it gives birth to death. Just seeing something, it's not a sin. Being tempted is not a sin. Jesus Christ himself was tempted. But watch what happens. And on your handout, I wrote this out. We're going to do this as an exercise together because I want to show you what happens. So go ahead and get your notes out. Get your pens out. I want everyone to do this with me. And we're going to follow along on the TV, okay? So go ahead and get your notes out. Or stand there and don't. Or sit there and don't. The first one is this, temptation. The first blank is write down temptation. That's your first blank you need to write down. Temptation grows into desire. Desire. I want it. I need it. I got to have it. What you need to do is set up roadblocks, set up a barrier, put godly men, godly women around your life to protect you, to surround you, because when desire comes in, you lose control. Desire grows into what? Action. It's action. Again, it's not bad to have a desire. It's not bad to be driven. I'm a driven person. I have desires. But the problem comes with who's in control? Who's behind the wheel? Is it yourself? Is it your flesh? Or is it God's will, God's spirit? Who's driving that action? And then action grows into death. Whoa. So temptation to desire to action to death. Whoa, that escalated quickly. That's big time right there. But that's what sin does. It leads to death. And when you look at David's story of David and Bathsheba, and that's what we're going to do, 2 Samuel chapter 11. David sees Bathsheba, and he calls her up. He sends a scribe to go out to her. The problem is, what we do is, when we turn to 2 Samuel and we read it, and we're like, okay, so he did this, and then he did this, and he did this, and then we turn the page. We forget that they're real people. We forget that they have air in their lungs, they have blood in their veins. We forget they have the same problems that we have. So when we read this, I'm going to paraphrase a lot of this, but I want you to understand the story of David and Bathsheba. So what David does was, he calls her up. He sends someone over to his house. Remember, he's on top of the palace. I can only imagine when the scribe goes out, he goes, hey, Bathsheba, hey, girl, woo-hoo, right here, hey, how you doing? I'm definitely not doing that war stuff. No, I'm in the palace like I'm living large. Hey, you should come over, call me. You know that's what he did, because that's what happens in verses 3 and 4. And then what happens? Bathsheba comes over, and then they do the deed. And then they immediately send her out. A month later, what happens? It's verse 5. She's pregnant. Sin will continue to build in your life. It's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. Here's something that's not in your notes, but I want you to write it down. Sin will take you farther than you want to go. It's going to keep you longer than you want to stay, and it will cost you more than you want to pay. And you want to know something? Bathsheba, she was married to a guy named Uriah the Hittite. Why could I not have a cool name instead of like Rob the Hittite? It's just Rob. It's bore backwards. It's not a cool name. But Uriah. See, the thing is, Uriah was one of David's closest friends. It's verse 23, all the way down at 39 right here. It's down at the bottom. One of David's closest friends was Uriah. Right here, down at the bottom. Out of the 37, all these people, all of his great warriors, his closest friend was Uriah. David's not acting like a king. He's acting like a dog right now. So what does he do? He's already done the deed. He's already sent Bathsheba away because she's pregnant. So what does he do? He calls out and he says, oh man, I'm definitely not acting like the apple of God's eye, which we like to call him. So he says, okay, here's what I'm going to do. Send for Uriah. Uriah, go get Uriah. Bring him back from the war. Bring him back to me. Where Uriah is supposed to be, where David's supposed to be. And then, here's what he does. He says, oh, Uriah, my good buddy, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for being here. Here's what I want you to do. Man, you're fighting hard in the war. Go home. Put your feet up. Go be with your wife. Did I tell you your wife's beautiful, by the way? Oh, man, she's beautiful. Go be with your wife. Go. What David's trying to do is he's trying to cover it up. And that's what we do with our sin. We cover it up. Sin only grows out of what? Isolation. It grows like moss, like scum, like mildew. It's in the dark. But Uriah, what does Uriah do? He doesn't play that. He says, no, I can't go to my house. So where does he sleep? Verse 9. He sleeps on the palace gates. And then David goes even further. He says, no, let's have a party. Let's get you drunk. Let's get you hammered. And let's try to get you with your wife again. And he says, no, I'm not going to do that. David right there knows he's in deep, deep trouble. So what does he do? He formulates this plan. He says, oh, I got it. I'm going to kill Uriah. He straight up murders him. He sends a letter, sends it out, and says, here's what I want you to do. Put Uriah on the front line where the fighting is the fiercest. And then I want you to go and then pull back, and Uriah will die. He straight up murdered him. That's why James mentions sin leads to death, because he grew up knowing the story of David. Both you and I know someone that have let sin destroy their life. Right now, that name's popping in your head. Maybe you're thinking, oh man, Rob, that's me. You don't even know what's going through my head. I was just wondering how many of you think if David was in here, we'd be like, not David. No way. I can't forgive you, David. No, what you did was wrong. There's no forgiveness for David. Not at all. But you know what God does? God forgives him. He forgives David. God makes forgiveness so complicated. So complicated. The simple answer, everyone say no. No. Do we forgive David? No. Okay, two people. Do we forgive David? No. But God says, yes, I forgive you. I restore you. I want to bring you back to me. That's so complicated. The problem is the way we see forgiveness. I have a slide right here. It's a bar graph, and it's how we view sin. And some sins are greater than others. Some sins are shorter than others, if you'll start with the bar graph. So this is our sin. This is how we view sin. This is, oh man, I cheated on my wife. I cheated on my husband. This is, I cheated on my taxes. Just saying. This is, I got caught speeding. This was, well, I really didn't fill out that report just right. Or, yeah, I did this over here and I did that over there. Oh, I borrowed my buddy's mower and broke it, but I didn't tell him. That's how we view sin, right there, because it's up and down. But this is how God views sin. This is how he views it, from up top. He sees adultery, he sees the taxes, he sees borrowing the mower, or cheating, or getting the speeding ticket, all the same. That's how he views it, from the top. That's why forgiveness is so complicated. That's why when you read Psalm 51, man, forgiveness isn't a feeling at all. You know what forgiveness is? It's freedom. It's liberating. And if you've ever experienced true freedom, you know what I'm talking about. Look at Psalm 51 again. And I want you to write this down. When we read this, I want you to write and underline a few things. Have mercy on me, O God, because of what? Your unfailing love. Circle unfailing love. Go ahead and circle unfailing love in your Bible. And when you do that, because of your great compassion, blot out the stain of my life. Circle compassion. You want to know why God has mercy on you? Because of his unfailing love. Because of his great compassion. That's how much he loves you. That's how much he loves you. On your handout on the other side, it starts with forgiveness. Forgiveness is complicated. You want to know why forgiveness is complicated? Because of the next one is unfailing love. And because forgiveness is complicated and it erases temptation, it erases desire, because he has great compassion for you. And why we can't understand it, why we can't grasp it, is because when you have forgiveness, unfailing love, and great compassion, it gives you freedom. You're truly free. You're truly free. That's why forgiveness is complicated. Because if it's up to us, there's no forgiveness. We want a price to be paid for what he did. But God says, I love you so much for that. I can't leave you in your sin. You know, the song, Grace is amazing. Amazing grace. It's so complicated. Because we don't deserve it. We don't deserve it at all. And the truth is, right now where you're sitting, you know you don't deserve it. But God forgives us anyway. It's erased. It's gone. But the truth is, we don't forgive ourselves, do we? We don't. I have a brand new, it's mint. It smells like money. $20 bill. Who wants it? Just 5 people? Oh, y'all are the bougie crowd. Okay. Oh, you want the $20 bill? What's your name? Jose. What's up? I'm Rob. See, cooler name than Rob. Jose. You want this $20 bill? It's brand new. How much is it worth? $20. But if I wad it up, how much is it worth? Maybe like $11.50? It's nasty, right? What if I step it on it? And I'm like, no, I just got out of the bathroom, so you know where my feet have been. Nasty, because the men don't know how to aim. You still want it now? Yeah, oh yeah. What if I spit on it? Oh. You want it now? Oh, he's like, maybe? What if I take it and I rip it? You could tape it, but don't miss the point. Don't miss it. Here's the thing. Most of us are like this $20 bill. We feel like we've been stepped on. We feel like we've been wadded up. We feel torn and we feel broken. We feel like we have no value whatsoever. But like you said, we can tape it and it still has value. Let me tell you this. God came with the ultimate stain remover. It's his blood. There's nothing that you've done that he can't remove. The problem is we feel worthless. God, we forgive me. And he did. And we don't know what to do because we feel worthless. Because when sin enters the camp, it feels like shame. And then shame devalues us. And we're like, how can I do this? How can I face my husband? How can I face my wife? How can I face my boss with everything I've done on the inside that no one knows? And God said, listen to me. I made you perfect. I made you in my image. I made you a son and a daughter of a risen king. I don't care what you look like on the outside. I care what happens on the inside. I'll put you back together. I'll put you on a purpose if you trust me. Do you trust me? let's get ready to wrap up and we go have a whole bunch of fun with our families. I want to ask you a question. Have you ever trusted God as your Lord and Savior? Have you ever called out to him and said, God, I admit I'm a sinner. I believe in you. Forgive me. Forgive me for what I've done. Take me up. Make me new again. Make me valuable. Make me worthy to be called your son and daughter. So with every head bowed, every eye closed, no one looking around, I promise this. I won't embarrass you. I won't have you stand up. I won't have you do anything. You'll stay seated this entire time. But I want to give you a chance to ask Jesus into your life. Maybe you're in this room and you've never prayed and asked God to come into your heart and forgive you of your sin. But today you want to have that freedom that we've been talking about, that forgiveness. If you're in this room, you're saying, Rob, I've never done that, and I want to do that right now. All I want you to do is look up at me. Okay. I see you. Eyes looking up all over. I got you right there. I got you. I see you. I got you back there. I see you. Okay. I got that whole row. I see you back there. I got you right there. I can't give you freedom. I can lead you in a prayer, and you're going to call out to God with your mouth. And I want you to repeat after me. And you're going to pray. You're going to ask Jesus to come into your heart. So if you're looking at me and you want to do that, let's pray. Repeat after me and say, Dear God, I admit I'm a sinner. Forgive me of all my sins. I believe that Jesus died on a cross and rose again to save me. In the best way I know how, I turn my back on my old life. Thank you, Jesus, for giving me freedom and saving me. With every head bowed, every eye closed, no one looking around. This is too personal. If you prayed that prayer, will you just look up at me so I can see you? Stay locked on. I got you. That's amazing. Stay with me. Stay with me. I see you. I see you right there.